So the new Mario game is getting more coverage and promotions, and looking at it, it looks like the best Mario game we've seen in years. It's got a wildly different style than the tired New Super Mario Bros. Style the series has been stuck on since the DS. It's got new and interesting looking level mechanics and power-ups, and it finally makes my wife playable.
I love you, Tim.
Given all of this, you'd assume the game would have my name written all over it, that I'd be dying to play it as soon as I could. But I don't want to. Yeah. Seeing the promos for this game actually makes me want to avoid it more than anything. Trust me, I was just as confused as you probably are to discover this. I don't play new Nintendo games. At least not on release. As of making this video, I have yet to purchase Tears of the Kingdom. This begs the question, why do I have such an aversion? Thinking on it for a while, I came up with a few possible reasons. Initially, I assumed I avoided new Nintendo games because I have my own project in the works, which is monopolizing my schedule. However, this ignores the fact that I still play video games all the damn time. I've gotten through Elden Ring with my Discord buddies, I've built up a Pokemon team in Silver and Emerald, and I also recently finished Hyper Light Drifter. So then, it's not that I don't have the time to play the newer games. What else could it be? Perhaps it's because I feel distanced from the Nintendo fandom, especially the hype culture. I'm soured on the concept of hype because I've been burned in the past. I've seen the hype train heap celebration upon projects I completely hated. It now feels off-putting to exist in such a one-sided culture. But I must ask, is that why I don't play the games? Does that even have anything to do with it? It's sort of related, but that can't be the root cause. Maybe it's not the community I have a problem with, but Nintendo itself. It's no secret that Nintendo uses a lot of anti-consumer and anti-goodwill practices. Their games-as-a-service model for retro titles, their predatory deadline with the Mario All-Stars collection, their complete apathy in fixing Joy-Con drift, which forces people to buy more controllers, and their utter contempt towards fan projects, mods, and emulation shows just how little Nintendo sometimes regards their consumer base. They're not my friend, and in some cases they're closer to being an enemy. But does that explain everything? Despite Nintendo's behavior, I still have high hopes for Metroid Prime 4, and I still plan to get around to a lot of these newer titles. It's not like I've made a vow of abstinence or anything. Maybe I don't play these games on release because I'm waiting to see whether they're worth my time after they've been filtered by the consumer base. There have been way too many examples of games that fail on launch for one reason or another. Thus, it makes sense to wait for others' reviews and opinions to make sure new releases are worth my time. However, even this doesn't fully explain my behavior. There have been games I've picked up immediately, even despite hearing negative opinions on them. Scorn, for all the hate I heard surrounding it, ended up being one of my favorite games of the year. But I digress. It's not like every game that releases is some risk where I don't know what I'm gonna get. From all I've seen of it, Tears of the Kingdom looks like more of what I loved from Breath of the Wild, and that's all I've been hearing about it. So why, then, would I still ignore it along with other new Nintendo games? Well, perhaps it's because there are just so many damn games to play. It's not uncommon to hear people complain about their massive Steam libraries of unplayed games. I'm certainly no different. There are many titles I've bought on sale just because I recognize the name, not really investigating the genre or reviews. This led to a lot of bloat in my Steam library. But even games I know I want to play are just sitting there for months and years, uninstalled. It's the same story for my Switch. So many games in my backlog, but I never touch them. It's gotten so bad that I've started a spreadsheet full of games I intend to play, games I've started, and games I've completed. Anything new is just added to the end of the list. But even then, there are games I pick up and immediately binge without giving a second thought. So why doesn't that happen with these Nintendo games? I think all the reasons I've explored so far contribute to my behavior, but there is one very simple and powerful explanation that has been staring me in the face the whole time. I'm just not interested in those games anymore. My tastes are changing. I've played these same few genres to the moon and back, and there's not enough variety to keep me coming back anymore. I've found myself drifting away from platformers, Metroidvanias, and shooters into JRPGs, puzzle games, and life sims. I also plan to try my hand at racing games, immersive sims, and city builders. This would explain why for now I'm skipping Tears of the Kingdom. If it's just more Breath of the Wild, why would I go out of my way to play it? I've gotten my Breath of the Wild experience from the first game. In light of this, the question I asked at the beginning, why I wouldn't want to play new Nintendo releases, seems ridiculous. I should be asking why I should feel obligated to play any new Nintendo game in the first place. If the genre doesn't interest me, the series doesn't have me invested, and all I have to go on is the fact that it's new and people are talking about it, I'd be stupid to pick it up. In fact, that's how I used to be. Back when the Switch launched, I was buying every major first-party release for it. After Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild blew me away, I had this expectation that we were entering some kind of new Nintendo renaissance where the latest title in every franchise was going to blow your tits off. Sadly, all this led to was disappointment. Luigi's Mansion 3, despite looking beautiful, felt so underwhelming with its kindergarten-level puzzle difficulty that I dropped it and never picked it back up. Kirby Star Allies was half decent, but it felt lacking in ambition and depth. It felt more like a well-done mobile game than a full console experience. Splatoon 2 was fine, but since multiplayer shooters have never really been my cup of tea, I was mainly stuck with the single-player campaign. I didn't really appreciate how instead of proper locations to explore, the setting for this campaign consisted of Mario Sunshine bonus levels. Long story short, I learned a valuable lesson and overcame my sense of obligation towards new Nintendo releases. So, what is my plan moving forward? Well, I'll just continue with my spreadsheet, knocking out the games I have open, and only starting games whose genres interest me. I've got a lot of catching up to do, so I won't feel bad about missing out on some hot new releases that get shoved in my face every few months. I don't feel like playing the new Mario when it comes out, and that's just fine. I may get to it eventually, or not.